I'm continuing the reading of chapter 3 from The Double Life of Pocahontas by Jean Fritz. When I left off, we were reading that Governor Gates had ordered everyone in Jamestown to leave and go back to England, and he was standing on the riverbank making sure that the settlers did not burn down Jamestown, which is what some of them actually wanted to do. Of course, the departing settlers were watched. Up and down the river, Indian lookouts stood behind trees, crouched in the grass, stationed at high points, watching the procession of boats wind toward the coast. Ya ha ha! This was the end of the English. As soon as the boats had disappeared, the lookouts would run to all the tribes, to all the villages, to all the chiefs, shouting out the good news. They would carry the news like a gift to old Powhatan. But, as it turned out, the news changed before it could even be delivered. The Indians probably saw the strange ship before the English did. It was preceded by a longboat with men rowing up the river while the settlers sailed down the river, but not until the first gray light of dawn on June 8th did they catch sight of each other. As soon as they were close enough for voices to carry, the settlers called to ask what ship the others were from. The flagship Delaware, out of London. Captain Samuel Argall in command. Lord Delaware on board, come to take over the government of Jamestown. 2 other ships following. New settlers, 150, food, supplies for a year. Of course, Sir Thomas Gates and his people turned around and sailed back to Jamestown. Some of the old-timers may have hated to go back, but everyone agreed this was God's doing. Had they left one tide earlier and had Lord Delaware arrived one tide later, the ships would have missed each other. Like it or not, who could argue with God? So the colony started over once again. The cannon was dug up, men retrieved their armor, and Lord Delaware issued orders that everyone must work 6 hours a day. The church was to be repaired and supplied with wildflowers. Houses were to be rebuilt, fields planted, food gathered. Sir George Somers went to Bermuda to bring back wild hogs. Unfortunately, he ate so much pork in Bermuda that he died there. Captain Samuel Argall went to Maine for fish. Later, he went to the Potomac country, where the natives were willing to trade. But Lord Delaware did not make peace with neighboring Indians or with Powhatan. The killing went on. Both sides killing, both sides taking revenge. Once the English murdered an Indian queen and all her children. Once Lord Delaware had an Indian's hand cut off because he suspected the man of being a spy. When Delaware sent messengers to Powhatan to ask for the weapons and captives stolen during the starving time, Powhatan refused to give up anything. Even for the sake of peace, he refused. Let the English get out of his country, he said, and if the governor wished to speak to him again, he should first send Powhatan a coach and 3 horses. That was how the English king traveled around, wasn't it? Lord Delaware was not happy in Jamestown. Not only did the Indians upset him, but he was sick. Hardly had he arrived when he came down with a violent case of malaria with a fever so high, blood was taken from him again and again, which only made him weaker. At this time, if you were sick, doctors would poke a hole in your arm or some other place and let blood drip out, because it was believed that by having the blood leave the body, the disease would go with it. Continuing. As soon as he had recovered from that, down he came with dysentery, then gout, then scurvy. Sometimes he was sick with all these ailments at once. He dragged himself around when he could, but after 9 months, no one could blame him for giving up and going back to London. The settlers, who had been ruled by so many different men in so many different ways, must have wondered, what next? Sir Thomas Dale, the new governor, blew into Jamestown on May 19, 1611, as if he were riding on the back of a storm cloud. He took one look at the settlement and decided that everything was wrong and that everyone was lazy. He was a harsh man who believed in harsh rules and strict obedience. The first time a man was caught swearing, for instance, he was whipped. The second time, he had a bodkin, which is a pointed instrument for making holes, thrust through his tongue. The third time, he was killed. If a man missed church 3 times without a good excuse, he had to serve 6 months as a galley slave. If he picked flowers or grapes without permission, he'd have his ears cut off. 2 women settlers, who apparently sewed for the colony, were publicly whipped for making men's shirts too short. If John Smith believed in ruling by fear, Sir Thomas Dale believed in ruling by terror. As for the Indians, Dale boasted that if England would send him 2,000 convicts, he could wipe out the whole lot. He never got his convicts, but he made the most of the few hundred soldiers that he had. He didn't need a reason to attack the Indians. He just attacked, sometimes in full armor. He had brought with him a lot of old armor from the Tower of London, and although a few Indians had seen armor before, never had they been attacked by a whole company of monster-like men dressed in metal. When their arrows struck the metal and fell harmlessly to the ground, they were thrown into despair. How could they match such magic? They tried every chant, every spell, every charm they knew. They called on O'Key to send rain to put out the burning wicks on the English muskets. Still, neither the Indians nor the English gave up. Now Dale decided to spread the settlers up and down the river so there would be no room for Powhatan. He built 4 new forts and a new community 80 miles up the James River, which the English named Henrico. Of course, while the English were actually building, they could not wear armor, and this was when the Indians often attacked. Indeed, it was now that a minor Powhatan chief, Nematanau, made himself famous. Covered with feathers, which he plastered over his body, and with a pair of swan's wings attached to his shoulders, Nematanau told his people that his feathers were as strong magic as the English armor. No bullets could kill him, and as it turned out, he did survive battle after battle. So Nematanau became a hero to the Indians, proof that their gods were as strong as the English ones. The English called him Jack of the Feathers, and they went on building, expanding, and fighting. By the spring of 1613, there were more than 700 settlers in Virginia. At least 30 were women. The town of Henrico was completed, and although a few Indian tribes had submitted to the English, Powhatan held firm. I'm sorry, but my cat's making a lot of noise right now because she wants some attention. Come here, Neferkitty, come here. I think, you want to say hello? Let me see if she wants to say hello. See, she's making too much noise. I'm not killing the cat. This is the cat. She's making noise while I'm trying to finish reading chapter 3 to you. Say hello, Neferkitty. Say hello. Say hello. There's Neferkitty. Whoops. She's a good cat, but she wants lots of attention. So if I don't give her attention, because I'm giving you attention, she yells and screams. So I'm sorry about that. So this is the end of part 2 of chapter 3, and we're going to go on with part 3.